Hello and welcome to a podcast with ConCensis. I'm your host, Gabrielle, and I'm so excited to have guests Susie Martin and Carrie Miller here with us today. Susie Martin is a proven business manager with years of successful experience focused on project management and personnel management at ConCensis Technologies, and Carrie Miller is the Periop Enterprise Coordinator at The Ohio State University. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, let's go talk a little bit about management. So managing surgical loaner sets involves a lot of moving parts, I'm sure. So what is the process of managing vendor loaner trays at your facility?
So with Ohio State, we've actually just launched an offsite SPD facility. So we have about 5 hospitals with ambulatory surgery centers, and then we have the large freestanding SPD. So we're kind of working towards streamlining the practices across the enterprise, but current state, our vendors obviously use the LoanerLink system to confirm their orders and check those trays in. And then depending on the time frame that they've given us, whether it be, a few days out or the day before surgery, is when we decide which location they go to. Most often, all of the vendor trays get sent to our offsite facility, though, and then we check them in with the LoanerLink and SensaTrack system, process them, and have them ready at their facility for the cases. And then, obviously, the system alerts them with the pickup time as well.
Fascinating. Loaner set management is just very critical to many factors, including safety and efficiency, I'm sure. So it's important that when it's done right. On that note of efficiency, how does your department use LoanerLink to streamline your loaner management process?
Yeah, so we, again, have about 5 locations, and we have a large vendor influx at the 2 main locations, our main campus hospital as well as our East Community Hospital. And we see on average about 200 vendor trays a week, plus consignment. So we have a large volume that we do, but using the LoanerLink, it allows us to kind of look ahead and forecast what's to be expected. So in my current position, I'll get into LoanerLink on a daily basis, review the orders that are going to come in, and then as well as verify that vendors have confirmed their orders. So oftentimes, surgeons will schedule their cases. If the vendor isn't notified via LoanerLink, there might be a glitch in how the scheduler scheduled it, or they might simply just not need trays for that case, even though they've gotten the alert. So we use LoanerLink to ensure that not only the vendors are aware, but our staff is aware. And that helps us to then facilitate our staffing needs. So if we have a large influx of vendor trays coming in, especially, during the busy orthopedic seasons, then we'll make sure that we're staffed accordingly. So we use LoanerLink with high volume during that. We also try to work closely with our vendors to ensure that their tray naming conventions are accurate. So I'll get into LoanerLink and look at the tray names and verify that they're how we want them, streamlined so they're consistent across the enterprise, but then working with them consistently to update any changes in the tray names or delete any trays that have been discontinued. So we are in constant communication, and that's one of the huge perks that I like LoanerLink is it helps us build those relationships with the vendors, stay in constant communication, and then it allows the OR team to know that, hey, we're going to have the trays we need because there's somebody oversight looking at what's supposed to be coming and what is not delivered.
Absolutely. So it sounds like everything's really simplified and made a lot easier to control, which is a really good solution for management, right?
Yes.
For sure.
And it also allows, I think anyway, from my experience, it allows visibility across the facility. Anyone that has access to LoanerLink can see what trays are coming in, when they're to be expected, and even where they are in the perioperative loop at the site. So they know exactly where those trays are at any given moment.
I agree. And with our facility having, the offsite facility, that's a huge perk, is that hypervigilance and understanding of where the trays are at any given point. So with the LoanerLink into CensiTrack, staff members, if there's a surgeon that's requesting trays and they aren't aware of where they're at, they can log in, see it, and it's all populated there. And they can also see, yes, your vendor dropped it off at this date, this time, and at this location. So it's very transparent, and that's something that's very beneficial to not only SPD, but to the OR and the surgeons as well.
For sure. That's super helpful data.
Yeah.
To know. Do you feel that LoanerLink improves communication and compliance with the loaner tray vendors? And if so, how so?
I would say yes. I think buy-in is going to be the first critical piece, right? So you need your vendors to understand the whys behind it. Every facility has their own system, LoanerLink just being one of them. So a lot of these vendors go to multiple facilities that have different systems. So making sure that they're properly trained, they understand why and what's expected of them, how we at Ohio State want them to use it. And so with that, then they feel that their voices are heard. I'm consistently working with them to make sure, hey, you didn't do this. Was there a barrier that, kind of interfered that made you not available to do it? Or was it just the lack of desire? And then just working alongside of them to make sure that they feel that they're valued, but also to make sure that they're following our processes, because those are put in place for a reason. And our ultimate goal is that patient. But with that, I feel that with LoanerLink, it connects directly to our surgery scheduling interface. And so it allows that communication on the back end as well. So if a surgeon decides to cancel a case or move a case up or later in time, if the vendor has attached their trays and their order to that procedure, it gives them a notification. And then also on my side, I get the notification, the cases were canceled, they're moving up. And then with that, it allows us again to work on staffing. So we're not putting all of our efforts and resources into cases that have been canceled, but rather the ones that are going to be going on. And then with that too, if the cases move up, that we're prepared for that. We're not waiting to hear the phone call from the OR saying where our vendor trays, the case moved up. We're getting that communication. And again, it's that very transparent piece, but that's what also helps us build that trust with the OR. Especially with 70 ORs across our enterprise, we're moving, and we need to make sure that our ORs trust us and trust that we're going to have the trays that they need when they need it.
Absolutely, that trust is important, and this definitely streamlines communication. Yeah. And I know you spoke about it a little bit, Carrie, but how does this perform in terms of visibility, more specifically?
Yeah, so like Susie said, that the visibility of where the trays are at any given moment has added huge buy-in across all members. So we, know where the trays are and where they're at in the process, but also we can hold the people accountable. So we can see the vendor didn't drop off their tray, we can call them. And so it's visible that, hey, we need to make some phone calls for tomorrow's cases because the vendors have not dropped them off. And even on the other side, it's time for pickup. And so we don't want to be the storage unit for all of these vendor trays. And so it's important that these vendors come and pick up their trays, so that way we're not also responsible if something were to be lost or missing. So we use this system on both ends, the pickup and the delivery, and keep that visibility clear across. And that also helps keep people accountable. And it helps the processes and procedures that we put in place be able to be kept up.
And I think it also assists the vendors because they do, like you said, they also have the visibility of when it's time to pick up their trays. They will get a notification, but they also have access to LoanerLink to see where their trays are anywhere within the facility. If they're, in decontam, or if they've gone to the sterilizer, maybe they need to be in the room for that case, but they're running late or something like that. They can still see where their trays are and know exactly when they need to be there for that procedure and know that their trays are ready to go.
So you've shown there's a lot of easy visibility within the key analytics of the entire loaner and vendor management process through LoanerLink now. So my next question is, does the integration between LoanerLink and CensiTrack help provide real-time knowledge of scheduled procedures at your facility?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the scheduling interface that Ohio State uses links directly with the LoanerLink and CensusTrack platform. And so when those cases shift, cancel, move up, move later to the day, move to a different date, that's real-time communication. And so not only the vendors are getting the information, our department is getting the information. And like I said, we're able to then staff accordingly. We don't want to spend our resources financially, staff resources, on putting through trays that aren't going to be needed any longer because the case canceled. But also we want to verify that what the cases that are first start cases are getting their first start trays. And then within the LoanerLink and CensusTrack, as soon as that vendor confirms their order and creates it and attaches it to the system, when they come to deliver their trays, we're able to pull it up into CensusTrack, print off their tags for them, and then the process starts because we're scanning the trays with those labels. And then that's what, to Susie's point of being able to track it through and knowing if it's an SPD, if it's in the sterilizer, or if it's in sterile storage, it allows that process to be very transparent for the SPD staff, the vendors, the OR staff, and surgeons. So that wide range visibility has made it very easy to know where your things are at each step of the process.
Absolutely. And tracking through real time is just such a cool feature to have with this tool. Mm-hmm. How has LoanerLink made a loaner process more efficient for your vendors?
So I think that every SPD facility has the vendors they love and the vendors that are always a pain in their side. You know, some vendors like to see how far that they can push. But with this system and with any system that you put in place along with your policies and procedures, it creates that foundation. So here's our process, here's our policy, and this is the system we're going to use. And so with that, the vendors understand this is exactly what's expected of me. And so it becomes very routine and very uniform. They know I'm going to check my order in on the LoanerLink website. I'm going to get that notification that the case is even scheduled first. And then they're going to tell me where to deliver my trays. And they traditionally know because we use the same vendors on a routine basis. So they know where they need to go. They know the process, and then they drop it off, and they use the LoanerLink to check in at the facility, and then the staff helps them. So I feel like it's helped Ohio State, especially as a large organization, better control what's coming and going and know what's coming and going. We wouldn't want to be blindsided by a huge influx of vendor trays coming and then not be properly ready for those. And then it also helps with that relationship piece. You know, SPD, it's very common that we don't always have the best relationships with our OR staff because of trust. And so any way that we can find to build that trust, to build that communication, to Susie's point with the transparency that OR can log in and see it, it's going to help at large. And so I feel like that's what LoanerLink has done for Ohio State, is that it's given us the foundation of our vendor policy and allowed us to stay very transparent across.
And there's also another feature within LoanerLink that assists, I would think, with vendor compliance, in that there's a vendor rating section in LoanerLink, where, you know, if you have a vendor who's notorious for not getting their trays delivered on time, you have documentation of that. Mm-hmm. A lot of the sites that I've worked with, they, you know, it's a piece of paper, it's a sticky note, whatever it may be. They don't have any true documentation to prove that a vendor was, you know, late getting their trays delivered. Well, with LoanerLink, they do have that feature now. You know, it may not be as robust, but it at least gives them some documentation for that. And then another nice feature of LoanerLink is the quality feedback. If there are, you know, if there's something going on with one of the trays on either side, there is an area in LoanerLink where you can put that. So there's documentation again. And
yeah, and to Susie's point with the vendor ratings, it has allowed us to have some tough conversations with our vendors and surgeons and understanding why things are not ready at the time that they need them. And with that information, the surgeon can take a step back, because in true fashion, the surgeons tend to side with the vendors. And so we're able to use that information to show, hey, actually, we've had some issues with these specific vendors getting their trays to our facility at the correct time. And with those difficult conversations, we again earn the understanding and the empathy almost from those surgeons that understand, wow, they're trying to do their job. It's the other partner in the puzzle that is making it difficult. And so with that, we're able to kind of, again, look at the barriers that are involved. Is it they don't know how to use the system, it's not working properly, and then we can reach out to ConCensis to, better understand what's the backside of it looking like, and work through those struggles with them to then make them be a working piece to our element.
And Carrie, something else that you had mentioned earlier on in the conversation is initially it's so important to get the buy-in from the vendors, because ultimately this does fall to them. If they don't do what they need to do, then it's not going to work like it needs to. And getting that buy-in up front is extremely important.
I agree. And I don't think it's just the vendors either. I think it's the surgeons and understanding the software and the importance of it, because then they can help hold those vendors accountable. Like I said, they're working simultaneously together with them. They tend to side with the vendors. And so if we can get the surgeons buy-in as well as the vendors buy-in, we have a lot more room for growth and improvement and overall, operationalizing the tool.
Easy visibility, communication in real time, and efficiency. So this is probably why ConCensis is the leader in surgical asset management solutions, right?
I would think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say so.
Well, are there any last thoughts, any parting words you want to say, any important points you want to drive home?
No, I think that with any system, there's the learning curve, the buy-in piece, and then it's just time trial. We're going to have errors. When I first came on board, LoanerLink was new to me. I was accustomed to a different software system. So just learning it and taking the time to learn it and learn it well, and then be a good resource and steward to your customers, whether it be the vendors, the OR staff, surgeons. But overall, I think that this has helped Ohio State really move forward and be a leading healthcare system, especially with our freestanding facility. It's the first in the state of Ohio, so it's something we're super proud of. And the tool like LoanerLink has made it possible to continue moving forward with our vendors, especially.
Wow, first in the state of Ohio. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an awesome accomplishment.
Thanks.
The Ohio State.
That's right.
The Ohio State.
Go Ducks.
And Carrie, wouldn't you say or agree that, a lot of this comes from when you first start looking at LoanerLink, because there's the training that has to take place both with the vendors and with the staff, SPD staff and OR staff. I think to your point, it's important to have the doctors understanding what's going on, what this program is going to do. So again, early on buy-in and then the training.
Well, a big thank you to Susie Martin and Carrie Miller for being here with us today. To learn more about ConCensis and the awesome things they do like LoanerLink, visit concensis.com. And of course, to hear more episodes, look for this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever it is you get your podcast at. Thanks again, ladies, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.